I would measure your glider and say, look, this is your numbers. I can show you what I have done so far. Average numbers on your model would be here and there. And then Richie Meyer, who later had the accident, was measured as well, and he was found really low. He was found on an Eros, which would require, say, something like 6 and almost 9. He was on 2 and 4, you know? So that is less than half. And he would be told, and he would say, yeah, yeah, you're right, I might lose something. But we don't know what he really did. I think, speaking to the other Swiss pilots, he was racing, but you know, he would have to raise a lot, because he would, as I said, if you come up to half those numbers, you might not even have 0 pitch yet. And 0 pitch is the minimum requirement. You know, there cannot be any discussion about having less than 0, because 0 pitch means as you go weightless, the glider's gonna just go over. You know, there's no reason for the glider to stop, because negative pitch is exactly that, you know. So if we want to be liberal with the pitch setup, we cannot be more liberal than 0, you know. We may discuss that 200 is too high, but 0 is probably too low. And as I said, when we had to do it from gut feeling, we probably did something like 100 or 50, you know, because you still want something that does, you know, the opposite of just pitching you over. You hold on to it, you dive, but the glider must do this response. You can't do it with the bar, and you can't do it with smart maneuvers. You can help a lot. This is my credo with the VG rope. You know, you go full VG. I also learned this from Manfred. He was probably the most radical back then, when nobody was really so much into pitch measuring. He would also try very low setup, and he would fly with his VG rope out of the fleet. So when he realized he needs full VG, it's coming into a bumpy area, strong thermal convection, he would just hold that rope, and as he would encounter either the thermal or something rough, he would just let go, you know. And why is the VG rope so powerful? You can also see this on the test. When you open your VG rope, you're not only releasing the sail, you also have a compensator on most all the common topless gliders, which is due to the fact that that dive stick goes to the leading edge, but the cable of that dive stick goes to the crossbar. And if you release the crossbar, the crossbar goes forward, takes the cable with it, and brings the dive stick up. You measure what you get for open VG or tight VG in terms of pitch on the German car. You realize you basically gain easily double. That means I would bet all of you, even the one that has the lowest setup, will almost reach the HV limit when he opens his VG. So this is your best shot you can give it. You know, when you realize it's getting really rough, just add some pitch moment, and of course then it's not so nice to fly a glider with open VG in the bad air, but at least you got pitch, and you shouldn't worry too much. You got handling and you got pitch, and you have to fly yourself out of this, and then you can think performance again. That's how I see it. I wouldn't say I can't tumble because I do this, but probably I'm trying to sell myself as expensive as possible, you know. And Walter Meyer, one of the Austrians here, he was there when Richie tumbled, and he said it's the same situation. They would just glide onto a strong thermaling convecting area, and they could feel it was rough, and Walter would go half VG and get one of those, stretch the arms, and it's over, and he looks back and Richie was on full VG. They found out because when they found the wreckage, the glider was still on full VG. And he would just go over. So there was just not this minimum amount of pitch there, and that's how we probably have to analyze the accident. Richie knew about it, he didn't do enough about it, and if he would have known how much 0 is, that could have saved him. You know? So this is why I think a very important figure is to put all these gliders that we have now with the certification or with American certification, British, whatever, we need to test them against 0. We need to see what is the minimum, and then we need to like publish these numbers, so everybody knows there's no way you can go below this. I would say you should then probably aim for something in between this minimum and the English, German, whatever certification limit, because you might do something on your glider that needs extra pitch. For instance, you might give it a little more VG travel. I know a lot of the guys that fly here want to have some extra performance. They just disengage the restrainer. Now you get a little more VG travel. This is all taken away. Personally, I realized for my setup, I have full VG travel, and I do not use it all the time. You know, like you probably when I fly a task, you would see that in the beginning of the task, when we fly the first task to the first turn point, I wasn't really very strong, because this is the time when you don't know much about the conditions yet. You have only flown a start gate and you're gliding off and you're flying into some rough air. It's not necessary to give everything at that point. You know, I think it's smart to go 3/4 of VG and see how that day behaves. You know, and as it progresses and as the conditions get lighter, you get more confident about the conditions. You learn more about the turbulences of the day and what the wind is like and stuff. And also as the day ages, it gets lighter and lighter. And as Manfred used to say, you win the task in the end of the task, you know, and that is just very smart. You know, you don't have to have all the performance all the time. You just hang on to that gaggle, you wait for the moment to break away. And I remember the World Championship in Brasilia, where we would start out on 4-meter thermals all day long, but every single day was decided over a overcast, shady area, high plateau, half a meter climb, meter climb, and then a 20-kilometer final glide. And he had that device where he could disengage his dive sticks just for that moment. And you would think, oh, we're all the same. We're all the same. He doesn't have any better than us, until you reach that plateau, and then you just disappear. You know? So this is just an example, not how to cheat the rule, but how to play your cards really well, you know, and having a bit of VG that is past certification is not a bad thing, you know, as long as you can fight the temptation to use it all the time. The best mate is passing you and you're pulling the rope like a Brazilian. You gotta give it all. That is a bad idea, because in this moment it's a no-go. You can't use it in the rough air. You gotta wait until you fly, and you fly over, you know, like a big crossing. This is when you want to use all VG. I personally can't handle my glider on full VG. That's why I don't mind to fly in the rough with 3/4, and it works okay for me. I get past at certain times, as long as it's not on the final. That's okay. So that's my flying advice to this. Back to the measuring. I mentioned it before. It has a big political aspect. The whole measuring is a sensitive subject in civil and among the testing bodies, because what pilots might not see is that there is a hidden fight involved in that. You know, the Germans, who were the strongest to push for those limits to become rules, and then we would basically measure gliders, and if you were below that, you get a 0 for the day, this kind of stuff. It comes from the idea that they would like to have their standard to become the world standard. And that is